Nearly 1 billion spent, but are we being naughty?
Way so tough with that bad boy tuck. I'ma get it how I'm living, I'ma walk the walk. Outline my lines, I rap through thought.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Chelsea spend loads and loads of money, but why aren't we falling foul of financial fair play? Well, Liam Twomey and Simon Johnson have written on The Athletic about just this. We're going to react to that today. Bit of fun news. I filmed my first Your Comments video today in the living room with my informal couch setup, answering your questions. That will be out later today. Keep it locked. Make sure you turn this bell button on when you subscribe. It's a really great new series I'll do every now and again where I answer your questions. A bit more sort of long form content where you get your chance to ask me my thoughts on Chelsea or other stuff and I answer them. And it's good because it provokes different speaking points. And it feels like I have an opportunity to interact with you guys, which I'm very interested in. So thanks for that. But let's get into the video. Right, of course, Moises Caicedo, he's the one. He's joined us. He's in. We looks like we're going to buy Lavia next. It looks like the spending will never end. Rival fans are furious. How could Chelsea possibly spend this incredible amount of money and not fall foul of financial fair play? Excuse me. I've always said the fact how Boehly speaks about FFP publicly, the fact how he self-reports financial irregularities from the previous regime to all governing bodies like the Premier League and UEFA, to me, is testament to the fact they have their eyes open. Anyway, Twomey and Johnson writes, for the third transfer season running, Chelsea's spending is the talk of football. More specifically, it's Todd Boehly and Clearlake Capital's seemingly insatiable appetite for large transfer fees that is dominating the conversation. A deal worth 115 million big ones for Brighton midfielder Moises Caicedo has ensured that Enzo Fernandez held the British transfer record for just 6 months following his £106 million move to Stamford Bridge. What's that? Over 220 million on a midfield pivot. It better be there for a long time. Liverpool edged out the pursuit and now appear to have been deprived of their secondary target, Southampton's Romeo Lavia, who also made his preference to move to Chelsea, which will be worth £50 million plus add-ons. So however much that could be, it could be 60, whatever. Wow, incredible. That means Boehly and Clearlake have committed north of 300 million in transfer fees on central midfielders alone. In 2023, that is just absolute, because of course the winter window now, this one, that's just incredible. And the deals for Leslie Ugochukwu and Andre Santos are all factored in. Of course, yeah, got to include those guys. Although relatively modest transfer fees comparatively, you'd have to say. Overall, the numbers are even more staggering. Lavia will take the total transfer fee commitment past the £900 million mark since Chelsea's new American owners took control, and they are not done yet. Nearly £1 billion in transfers, and they are not done yet. A new goalkeeper should replace the loan departure of Kepa, of course, to Real Madrid, and the club would like to add 2 more attackers. Wow! And all this without the revenue of a primary shirt sponsor. Yeah, this is good writing, because it's true. I mean, they do write for The Athletic, and you expect them to be good writers and journalists. So well done, boys, for being good at your job. Yeah, I mean, I think about this, and then you've got to remind yourself, a salient point is, yes, we don't have a sponsor. Although we will get one. And no Champions League participation as well, which is, you know, massive contributing factor to a club's revenue. No other club in the world is operating this way. What, just spending a ridiculous amount of money. And it's fair to say Chelsea's approach is ruffling feathers. There are growing whispers of rival clubs complaining to the Premier League about their spending, the manifestation of a broader disbelief inside and outside the game. Such outlay could possibly be, how could it be compliant with UEFA's financial fair play regulations, which allow clubs to lose around 90 million over a 3-year period? I thought it was a 4-year period. Anyway. What is more, last September they were placed on an FFP watch list, dun, 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 due to the size of their losses. So, rival fans upset. What's going on here? Yet, Chelsea believe they have a strategy that will keep them on the right side of the club's financial controls. Hashtag loophole Boehly back in the building. The Athletic will endeavour to explain. You and eventually football's governing bodies can make their own mind up. Right, so let's jump into it. Transfer fees are overrated. I always said this. A big obstacle to understanding what Chelsea are doing is the way that most people routinely think about football transactions, namely by focusing almost entirely on the transfer fee. It's often not the way that most football clubs think about them. Certainly not Chelsea. For example, Club A signs a player for £50 million and gives him a 5-year contract for 100k a week. Club B signs a player on a free transfer and pays him 400k a week. Which player do you think is more expensive on the yearly basis? If your answer was B, then you're on the right track. A weekly wage of 400k a week equates to an annual salary of more than 20 million, while the total cost of the amortized 50 million transfer fee over a 5-year contract with a 100k salary is about 15 million. So low wages essentially makes this a party. Viewed within this context, it's very possible that the most expensive acquisition in English football history might actually have been Erling Haaland's move to Manchester City in the summer of 2022. I knew it! I knew that! On the Norwegian's massive salary and signing on bonus and agent fees added to his nominally cheap £51 million release clause from Borussia Dortmund. Yes! Haaland is a bleed dryer financially. He's not like this shoo-in. But look, I'm not going to sit here and criticize Manchester City for paying Erling Haaland a lot of money, because that friggin' Nordic baby eater plays football on easy mode and is worth every penny. Bastard. It is widely documented that Chelsea have exploited the legal limit of amortization. This is fun. You know what amortization is? You spread the entire cost of a player's contract and transfer fee over the entire length of his tenure, his contract, and then you can split it up in the books. Yeah. In order to make the spending go further, that's why they do it. All their January signings were handed 7 or 8 year contracts and lowering yearly costs on the books. Of course, Enzo was on 8.5 and then extended to 9.5. Decade at Chelsea. But boy, what a baller. I'm happy with that. UEFA ruled that from this summer, transfer fees can only be amortized over 5 years. Basically, Chelsea took advantage. They saw Chelsea was taking advantage or being intelligent and changed the rules. But, you know, you got to get ahead somehow. The game is the game. Always. The Wire. The Premier League is likely to follow suit sooner rather than later. But even with the closure of these FFP loopholes, amortization remains a powerful tool to help Chelsea's spending, as they already used the rule to good effect, but the rule before the rule change came in. So it doesn't void all these players that are on the 8 year contracts, like, you know, Enzo's, your Mudriks, your Noni Madueke's. That still all counts. It's just moving forward. So they've already been in a strong position. What is more, Chelsea will not play European football competition this season, so do not have to worry about being within the within the UEFA rules for now. I didn't even consider this. You don't have to worry about the UEFA rules because you don't play in Europe. You don't think about that, do you? They will, of course, hope to return the next few seasons, but the Premier League give more leeway. Therefore, Chelsea have more time to sort themselves out. Sell some bloody players! Get Lukaku, go! Who wants Lukaku? Anyone want Lukaku? Sell him! Fire sale. So they believe they are all right. Others are less sure. Chelsea are selling, not just buying. But is it enough? Boehly and Clearlake have generated more than £250 million from player sales. Around 200 million of that has been made this summer through Havertz to Arsenal, Mount to United, Kovacic to City, Koulibaly and Koulibaly and Mendy to Saudi. That figure comes nowhere near to balancing Chelsea's outlay on transfers, but for accounting purposes, it does not need to. Transfer fees for players are registered in full on the books immediately, minus the playing amortized cost. Bang! Think about it. That 250 million immediately juices up the account, whereas the outlay of 900 million is spread across this time. So a long time, these years. So they have time to supplement it along the way. This is good news for Boehly and Clearlake. The majority of their players have sold this window, have either been long at the club, you know, like Kovacic or Havertz, so they have very small remaining book values, and Pulisic. So with smaller remaining, I think Kai Havertz had a book remaining value of 27 or 28 million to break even. And just, yeah, I'm not going to explain it, it's complicated. So 27, 28 million, but we sold them for 68 million. Boop, 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 boop. Juices up the books. And of course, we've sold Mount and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who are Cobham Academy graduates, that represent pure profit because they didn't cost anything. Havertz, Mount, Kovacic alone netted 100 million in the accounting profit of sales. That theory could bankroll as much as 500 million in transfer fees amortized over 5-year contracts. And now, that's in a sentence. That sounds like Twomey to me. So Chelsea have netted 100 million. And in players, in purchases, that gives you 500 million in the amortized 5-year contracts without tipping the... See, that alone just makes you go, without tripping the club into the red. It would, of course, mean that income needs to be consistently coming over the next 5 years in order to keep paying off these fees. But, you know, Chelsea return in Europe. Chelsea have got more players to sell, whether it's your Conor Gallagher's or whatever. Chelsea estimated the amortized spending in the past 3 windows under Boehly and Clearlake, using the initial figures reported by The Athletic, to £157 million. This is a significantly lower number, is almost entirely offset by the accounting profits of 149 million in the same period. Basically, they feel okay. It's clear to see that the big clubs have more room, it might first appear, to maneuver in the transfer market without falling foul of financial fair play. And the restrictions themselves are loosening. Yeah, apparently that happened ever since the pandemic. From the 2023-24 season, clubs judged to be in good financial health could be permitted to lose as much as £90 million over a 3-year period. Of course, this used to be £30 million, so this is tripled. The leniency is increasing. Because the club's accounts are published almost year after year, the relevant deals take place. It's currently too early to tell if Chelsea's spending will see them have a profit or loss. But in terms of hitting that number over 3 years of 90 million loss, it's worth bearing in mind that last year's accounts saw Chelsea have a £121 million loss. This season before saw a £156 million loss. Which was the second biggest in Premier League history. So the club will start needing to turn a profit soon, whether that be through increased player sales, improved commercial deals. Well, we've been good with player sales. We'll sell more players, improved commercial deals. The new owners are very adamant that Chelsea have been underselling themselves, like in the branding and marketing for a long, long time. So you'd think that would increase. And of course, playing back in the Champions League. Time will tell, but this is exactly what the amortization wants. I'm going to skip forward a little bit and read about the wage bill coming down, because this is very interesting. Okay, so in the Roman Abramovich era, Boehly and Clearlake quickly identified Chelsea. There's been a Chelsea premium coming to Chelsea to be paid a lot of money, essentially. Essentially what's been happening at United as well. Base wages were well above market rate across the board, so they were analysing the players, the value, how the players perform, where they came from, how well they'd play elsewhere, I guess. And just because they were at Chelsea, they were getting silly money. And were almost nothing tied to the performance-based incentives, such as Champions League participation, which is dumb. So you get a free ride at Chelsea. You can have a season like 2015, because it doesn't matter if you're not in the Champions League the following season, because you're still going to get paid your money. No. Big boy Boehly and crew. You want to get paid? You play well and try hard, baby. The massive squad turnover at Stamford Bridge over the past year has been part of about shedding these players and their contracts. Boehly and Clearlake have been determined to bring the club's salary commitments down to a competitive market level, and they are well aware of earning expectations of footballers tend to rise as they get older. Get them while they're young. Stick them on 9-year contracts on low wages. Since the restructuring of their football operation around co-sporting directors, of course, Stuart and Winstanley, at the start of this year, Chelsea have placed renewed emphasis on targeting players 23 or younger. So Nkunku, who was agreed almost a year ago, is 25. Axel Disasi and Robert Sanchez are exceptions. Robert Sanchez because goalkeepers go for longer, and the Ben Roberts link. Axel Disasi because of the Wesley Fofana injury, and he's just a good profile of player. He wasn't in the long-term Project 2030 plan. Younger players tend to be more amenable with lower base salaries with performance incentives, which give Chelsea the opportunity to start them at a more affordable level and reward them essentially when we play well. That you do well, you're fine. There's more in this article. I'm not going to read it all. It's behind the paywall. Incredible scenes, really. So Chelsea, hopefully this article explained a little bit of how the books work and how Chelsea are safe in financial fair play. In theory, you can understand why rival clubs are upset with Chelsea and are complaining to the Premier League. Like, look, football, it's the theatre of football, isn't it? If it's your club, you love it. If it's a rival club, you hate it. And that's why we like football, and it's stimulating ultimately. But I think Toomey and Simon Johnson have done a very good job here, highlighting all the relevant factors of the pure profit sales, the value left on the books on the big sales like Havertz and Kovacic, and how they were massive profit straight on the books, how the outlay will be over 5 years. And it's really, really insightful, and it's the long-term plan with like the wage structure, the Project 2030, the young players, and of course the increased, trying to increase commercial revenue, which is a big thing with these new owners. Do let me know what you think. Comment down below. Please do, leave your thoughts. Drop a like if you enjoyed the content. You're welcome to subscribe. Later on today, your comments video will be out, so keep it locked, my dear sweet friends. Take care of yourselves. Peace.